Today on The Big Story, government clamps down on employers who cheat to hire foreigners over locals. Find out how. Our correspondent was in Wuhan to find out what it is like to live under the cloud of the mysterious Wuhan virus. Surprise and drama, the Oscars 2020 nominee shortlist is out. Stay on and hear from ST's film correspondent John Lui about the controversies. It's Tuesday, 5:30 p.m. here in Singapore, and you're watching The Big Story, where we will discuss the hottest topics of the day and explain why they matter. I'm Haryanto Diman, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Employers beware, firms now face stiffer penalties if they are caught falsifying applications to hire foreigners over Singaporeans. This comes after changes to the Fair Consideration Framework, which was announced by Manpower Minister Josephine Teo today. The Ministry of Manpower has raised penalties across the board. The penalties include an extension to the minimum period of work pass debarment from 6 months to 12 months. For more serious cases, the debarment period can be up to a maximum of 24 months. Debarment will be expanded to include work pass renewals on top of new work pass applications. Employers could also face imprisonment of up to 2 years or fines of up to $20,000 or both if convicted of false declarations that they have considered all candidates fairly. To share more on this, we have journalist Chu Yun Ting with us. Welcome, Yun Ting. Yun Ting, why does the government feel the need to impose stiffer penalties now?
Right, so with the Fair Consideration Framework, so it was first introduced in 2014. Right, and so this is the first major updates to the framework. So, but even before that, MOM launched like tripartite guidelines on non-discriminatory practices, job adverts, employment practices. So, and between 2014 to 2018, MOM has penalised employers in about 280 cases. So, for discriminatory hiring practices, and of these, about half of them are nationality related. So, over the years, even though there has been progress in terms of fairer employment practices among companies, there are still some employers that have failed to adapt. There's still issues that plague it. So with these stiffer penalties, what they're trying to do is really to added deterrence and to really stamp out these discriminatory practices in the industry.
Right. So you mentioned more than 300 cases.
No, about 280 cases.
About 280 cases.
Yeah.
Could you share any examples of such companies that try to game the system, as it were?
Right, so those stats are for like 2014 to 2018. But some recent examples, so there have been about 5 companies that have been slapped with the stiffer penalties, which took effect this month. So one of them is actually TI2 Logistics, which was charged in court earlier today. So they were charged for false declaration on fair consideration. So it's the first company to be charged in court, right? So the company said that it considered local applicants fairly for this business development manager role, but so it did not. And it interviewed 2 Singapore citizens for the job, and it said that it considered local applicants, but in the end, it applied for a work pass for Mr. Zhou Jian-Sing.
Right.
So for companies like TI2 Logistics, which are convicted of false declaration under fair consideration, under this Employment of Foreign Manpower Act, they can be jailed for up to 2 years, fined up to 20,000 or both. And there's also another case of an employment agency. It's called Meow Services. So it placed a discriminatory job advert. So it said that it was looking for male applicants.
Right. So they were also subject to stiffer penalties as well.
So they were slapped for 12-month debarment.
Right. Now, Yun Ting, you spoke to some experts about how the stiffer penalties for the Fair Consideration Framework will be a deterrent, right? And possible impact on debarred firms as well. What did they say?
So for companies, so the major thing that experts actually highlighted was, beyond just extending this debarment period from 6 months to 12 months, it's also about companies not being able to renew existing work passes. So say for a company that has been slapped with a debarment period of 12 months, so maybe say a third to half of their existing foreign workforce cannot they can't employ new foreign workers, and they can't renew the work passes for about a third to half of their workforce. So this means they have to hire locals.
Yeah.
This might mean like costs going up, and say for some companies, if say they can't hire, then they might be forced to shut down.
Well, thank you so much, Yun Ting, for coming onto the show to tell us more about this. Now, to read Yun Ting's stories, you can check it out on our website, straitstimes.com. Our next story was only going to be a matter of time before it would happen. Thailand has confirmed its first case of the mysterious Wuhan virus after a Chinese woman was quarantined in the country. This is the first time the virus has been detected outside China. Earlier this week, our China correspondent Elizabeth Law travelled to Wuhan itself. Here's what she found out. Now we have Liz live on Skype to tell us more. Hi, Liz.
Hi, Yan.
Hi,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming onto the show as well. Hope you are good there at China. You are in China now?
I am in Beijing. I have returned from Wuhan. I was there last Friday, Thursday and Friday.
Liz, if you could tell us, share more on the situation when you visited the seafood market where the virus outbreak was said to have started.
Well, so the seafood market, I think for a bit of context, the seafood market is actually in the heart of the city centre. It's quite near the railway station. So it's actually a really, really busy place, massive road in front of it. And it's actually quite a busy intersection. So when we visited the market, generally this time of the year, just a few weeks before Chinese New Year, the market is supposed to be super busy and super crowded because a lot of companies are having their annual year-end dinners before the Lunar New Year. But when we got there, it was outside of the market, everything was still normal. People were going about their daily lives. You could see there were motorcycles, there were cars, there was a lot of horning, a lot of beeping going on. But the moment you entered the market, which is split into two sides with one road running in between, as you can see from the videos, it was almost like being in a ghost town. Everything was silent. All the shutters were pulled down, all the shops were closed, and they had guards every few meters really to stop people from trying to go in and to also stop people trying to take pictures. Now, the irony in this is that above the seafood market where all of these infections had happened, and so below you could see people in white hazmat suits either disinfecting or taking samples to try and investigate what was going on. Above the market is a spectacle wholesale center. And now at the spectacle wholesale center, business was going on as per usual, and no one in there was wearing masks. I was the only person, and our photographer, we were the only two people there who were in masks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Liz, I understand that you also spoke to some people there as well. How are the people coping? Because you said they were nonchalant about the whole situation.
I would, yes, you could say that they were nonchalant, but at the same time also, I suppose it's also the trust that they have in the government, because the government has, as compared to SARS years ago when they tried to cover up, obviously the Chinese government has learned well from that. So now they have been very upfront with updates, and as and when there are cases or there are developments, they always, the Wuhan Municipal Health Commission is very prompt when it comes to giving update. They're very transparent about it, and they've been working with WHO, reporting about any update possible. So the people there, they believe in two things. One, this is seasonal. Every time winter comes, there's a seasonal flu. This is probably something similar to seasonal flu. And even though one man has died, everyone realizes that he is very, very sick. He had liver problems, he had heart problems, he had a whole host of illnesses that even if this pneumonia didn't kill him, probably all his other illnesses would have. So that's number
Right.
one. And number two is that they believe that the government has everything under control, and that if it were really serious, entire cordon would have been put on the city. But now it's just the market. So they do believe that the situation is under control and nobody should panic. WHO has also said that there's no need for a travel ban because we are now in the midst of the biggest human migration in the world, where all the Chinese people return home for the new year, right? And we're expecting hundreds of millions of people to be taking planes and trains and all of that. And of course, if there's disease that can be spread, this is the time. But we have not seen any evidence as well that it spreads from humans to human. So
Right. Right.
that.
Well, thank you
Yes.
so much, Liz, for sharing more on this Wuhan virus. Certainly, please do keep safe wherever you are. And to read more on Liz's story, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com. And now let's move on to What's Trending, where Dylan will share with us what's buzzing in the internetverse. Over to you, Dylan.
Thanks, Aaron. So it's time for What's Trending. First up, more Megxit. After the British royal family held crisis talks, Queen Elizabeth has agreed to let grandson Harry and his wife Meghan exit their senior royal role. The Queen said in a statement that although it was preferred that they remain full-time working members of the royal family, the Windsors are entirely supportive of their wish for a more independent family life. The statement also states that there will be a period of transition in which the Sussexes will spend time in Canada and the UK. Social media has been abuzz with reactions, with comedians like Amy Schumer and Trevor Noah making light of the situation, and The Daily Show posting a fake ad for the couple to join its staff. Imagine Harry working a regular 9 to 5. Now moving on, a Singaporean man who was facing cheating charges here and out on bail was allegedly kidnapped and tortured in Thailand last week. Mr. Mak Cheng had travelled there with an acquaintance and was later kidnapped and held hostage for 12 hours. Kidnappers stripped him, splashed ice water and gave him electric shocks, demanding that he hand over Bitcoin worth $1 million US. According to him, he managed to escape using his martial arts skills. It gets worse. In a dramatic twist, police said that it was his acquaintance who was the mastermind behind the whole saga and have arrested him. And lastly, seen a pair of missing 4D tickets anywhere? A man is offering a $4,000 reward for his missing tickets, which won $27,000 at last week's draw. He told Storm that he had written his name and IC number on the back of the tickets and is unsure whether he had dropped the winning slips or if they were stolen. He has since made a police report. I'm Dylan Ang, and that's all we have for What's Trending today. If you've seen a story you want to share, tell us on Straits Times' Facebook page.
Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for the updates. Now, moving on to our last segment, the much-anticipated Oscars 2020 nominees list is out, with Todd Phillips' Joker leading the pack with 11 nominations, the most that the film has this year. Now, following very closely behind are The Irishman 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, forming a three-way tie with a total of 10 nods each. The origin story of the anti-hero Joker was expected to do well at the roll call, but a haul of this size was unexpected. It gained nods in the predicted categories, including Best Picture, Best Actor for Joaquin Phoenix, and Best Director for Todd Phillips. While South Korean actor Song Kang-ho failed to secure a supporting actor nomination despite rave reviews, Parasite is the first South Korean movie to be nominated for Best Picture Oscar. But the biggest loser of the day with no nomination is the drama comedy The Farewell from Chinese-American filmmaker Lulu Wang, despite being tipped to do well. We have film correspondent John Louis to tell us more. Welcome, John.
Hello.
Now, John, tell us, what are the surprises for you with the nominees list this year?
Well, first on the list is how Joker, which is as we discussed, is a pretty okay film, winning so many nominations. 11.
The most for this year, yeah?
The most for this year. I mean, just for context, The Lord of the Rings, the first one, Fellowship of the Ring, in 2001, got 13 nominations. Now, if you compare the two, it's pretty much an achievement for Joker.
Yeah, just 12, just shy of 2 nominations, right?
Short of Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the surprises? I mean, so we've got Joker there.
Yeah.
And then there is also the list of directors as well. No women directors.
No women directors. There was a chance that Greta Gerwig was going to get in for Little Women, which is the adaptation of the classic novel, which opens this week. It's a fantastic film. There was a chance she was going to get in, maybe also Laureen Scafaria, who directed Hustlers. You know, so these women had a chance of going, maybe even Lulu Wang for The Farewell, but none of them did. So it's an all-boys club in the directors.
And John, okay, now let's talk about Asian power, or the lack thereof, right? Last week we spoke about how Asian influence is making a mark in the Golden Globes. We had Parasite and Awkwafina winning Best Actress, right, for The Farewell, but she didn't get any nomination for the Oscars.
It's a case
What's happening?
It's a case of very different voting bodies, right? So you have several thousand Hollywood insiders voting for their friends and buddies and business contacts versus Golden Globes, which is international journalists from all over the world voting for what they really like. So that's why you see such a big discrepancy.
Okay, I have to ask you this, John, your predictions for the top three, right? Best Picture, Best Actor and Best Actress.
Well, Best Picture, what I would like to see is Parasite from South Korea win. But I have a feeling that Best Picture will go to Joker. Best Director, I would like to see Bong Joon-ho on Parasite win. But right now it looks like it could be anyone from Martin Scorsese or even Todd Phillips
for Joker, right?
For Joker. And Best Actor, boy, that's a tough one. I don't know. I'd like to see Adam Driver from Marriage Story.
Wow, what about Best Actress?
Best Actress, I'm hoping it will be Renee Zellweger for Judy. Judy is a great movie and she shines in it.
Right, and Renee won anyway for Golden Globes as well.
That's true,
So, well, we'll see. The Oscars, of course, is going to be taking place on Feb 9 in Los Angeles. But of course, Singapore, it will be February 10.
Feb 10 morning,
Right. Now, for the Oscars 2020 nominees list, you can check it out on our Straits Times website. There we have it, our top stories for today. For more news and videos, do log on to our website, straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Haryanto. See you tomorrow for more stories on A Big Story.